episode number 40. Hi, you're listening to the Careers Beyond Motherhood podcast with your host, Janine Esbrand. I'm here to help working mums like you to thrive in your careers and in motherhood. I share tips, strategies, and inspirational conversations with awesome women to help reduce the struggle in your juggle.
Time for a say, Mummy.
Hello, and welcome to the show. It's great to be back with you today. It is the beginning of September. We have that back to school vibe going on. The summer is over, and now it's time to get down to business for many people. So I am excited to be diving into today's episode where we are talking about going at your own pace. So we're continuing our Create Your Own Flexibility series, and we are talking to an amazing guest who's going to share with us the importance of building your business in your own way at your own pace. So it's so easy in the digital world that we live in to compare yourself to others, to look around and see how far people are along in their business journey, or if you're in your corporate career, looking at how high people are up on the corporate ladder, and then looking at your situation and feeling like you are less than, or you're not doing what you really should be doing. So our guest today, Jo Francis, is a business owner. She's a mum of two, and she is going to share with us how she has gone about her journey to intentionally building her business in a way that accommodates her family commitments and her hobbies and interests. So whether you are creating your own flexibility by building your own business, or you are in your corporate career post-motherhood, you are going to find some great insight in this conversation. So without further ado, let's jump in and speak to Jo. Hi, Jo. Welcome to the show. I'm so excited to have you here with us today. Please, can you introduce yourself to our audience?
Hi, Janine. Thanks so much for having me. Well, my name's Jo Francis, and I run a business called Maidstone Virtual Assistant. I'm a marketing virtual assistant, so slightly different focus than a lot of VAs. I've been running my business for 7 years, and am a mum to two children, one grown up and one not so grown up, and a small fur baby dog.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, so I want to hear all about how you launched and got into your business. But before we do that, tell me a bit about what life looked like before motherhood. So what did your career look like before you became a mum?
Well, goodness, I mean, I don't actually remember a time before I became a mum. I've been parenting for over 50% of my life, which is, quite a big statement because I'm not actually that old, I don't like to think. But my daughter is, my eldest daughter is 22. So, I mean, I had her at 22. So I don't think that really counts as a career. I've been working since I was 16, but not really sort of career driven. But my son is 7, so that was life changing, having such a big age gap, and going from having an almost grown up daughter to having a baby again was quite life changing.
And so how is that? How have you found having two babies or two children so far apart? So mine are really close, they're 2 years apart, and so it's all full on, it's intense, but as they grow up, they're going to grow up together. So it's interesting to speak to somebody who's kind of gone through the process and then gone all the way back to the beginning. How have you found that?
Yeah, I mean, in all honesty, it's like having two only children, which sounds bizarre because obviously they live in the same house and we all live together. But I brought up my daughter pretty much as an only child, and she was an only child till she was 15. So I did all of the one-on-one things that you have to do with an only child. Mummy play with me. I don't want to go and introduce myself to anybody type thing when you're out, at holidays, that sort of thing. And then obviously my son's come along and he again is like another only child, because his focus is very much on me when we're at home. So really, I do tell people that I had two only children, but with the benefit now of having an only child with a built-in babysitter at home to look after that only child.
And has it changed? Has your parenting style changed the second time round compared to the first time round because of the time gap?
Hugely. When you have a baby at 22 or when you're quite young, as much as I've always been very maternal and I was delighted to be having her, you feel like you're missing out on so much because obviously, other 22, 23-year-olds are out and about and partying, and weekends are filled with things that you're missing out on, and you are pulled in a lot of directions. And then when you have a baby at 38, well, nobody's going out anyway. You're not actually missing out on anything. Most of my friends are parents. Whereas when I was 22, I was, probably one of the first of my friends. I didn't have that many mummy friends.
Right.
The whole scenario has been completely different, and I have so much more tolerance and patience at this age, and I'm able to throw myself so much more wholeheartedly into mummy stuff that, now that my daughter's 22, I'm able to sort of look at her and think, God, I had a baby at that age.
Yeah.
And it says to me, I don't know how you put up with like kids waffling and all the things he wants to tell me about when he gets back from school. She's rolling her eyes. And that's part of being a mummy. That's what we love, is listening to, who said what naughty words in the playground, but my tolerance for it is a lot greater. But then, my lifestyle is very different. At 22, when I had Jade, I went back to work after 12 weeks. I had 12 weeks maternity leave. Yeah, and I went back and I worked full time from when I had her to when I went on maternity leave with my son. So I pretty much never went to a sports day. I never picked her up from school. I very rarely got to drop her to school because obviously I couldn't do both ends of it. Because I had to be at work, sort of 8:30 till 5:30. So I missed out on so much through necessity rather than choice. I had to be working. Whereas now, obviously, my life is completely different, and I still count those things as luxuries, kind of sports days, and even taking my son to school, I still think of it as a luxury.
Yeah.
But it is, I get to do it all the time.
So what was your role before? So when you went back to work after your daughter, what were you doing and working as full time compared to now that you run your own business?
Well, I've always been in sales and marketing. So I sort of had a variety of roles, but primarily sort of in the 10 years leading up to running my own business, I worked for a historical venue in Kent. So I worked for the Hop Farm as the head of corporate sales, and I was there for 10 years and fully embroiled in sales and marketing. And I loved it. I had a great job, but I think when you've been somewhere such a long time, you almost become institutionalized. You forget that you can do anything else. You don't know any other industry. You don't know, you look at yourself and you sort of think, oh God, I know what I do here, but where could I do that elsewhere? It would have to be another venue. It would have to be doing exactly the same thing, because I felt like I only knew one thing because I've been doing it so long.
Yeah, I think that's a key point. I think a lot of people do get pigeonholed. So when I speak to people about career transitions and they say, look, I don't want to go back to doing this, but I don't know what else I would do. That's always the question. But what else would I do? I would have to go and do this, or I'd have to. And I like to challenge people and say, well, why? There is other opportunities, and there's ways that you can package your skills and your experience so that you are attractive to either another employer or just a completely different industry. But it takes some thinking and some challenging of mindset to do that, to make that change.
Definitely. I think it's really hard to step outside of yourself and look at yourself and say, okay, what are my actual skill sets? You can see what you do for that company. You don't see them as standalone skills. And I was made redundant, and I did the thing that everybody does, and I panicked and I looked for another job, and I got offered a job instantly, and it was a bigger title and it was a bigger job role and a bigger salary, but in the same kind of industry. So it was another venue, but it was kind of slightly different industry because it was a football club. But I was like, brilliant. Literally, I can transition everything I know to exactly the same thing. And I started there, and it was horrendous. Yes, I could have transferred all of my skills and done exactly the same thing, but it wasn't exactly the same environment. It was a completely male-dominated, chauvinistic, poisonous, toxic, horrible environment. But I was there for a really short period of time. But in that time, I did realise what I was doing. I did realise what my skills were, because I've kind of realised, the things that I was about to set up and the things I was in the process of setting up, and their social media and their email marketing and all the things that I had carried across.
Yeah.
That they didn't have in place. And I thought, actually, these are things that everybody needs. These aren't things that just a venue needs, or I could actually take them and give them to anybody. And that's it was that 8 horrendous weeks that kind of built my business more than the 10 years beforehand, in all honesty.
Oh, that's brilliant. I was going to ask you what your turning point was. So realizing that your skills that you were bringing could actually be something that you offer to the marketplace is a great way to then start your business, because then you realize that if there's a need there, and that's if one company needs that, then there'll be others that need it. So yeah, that's really brilliant.
Yeah, I think you automatically think about everything that you do in your role when you're employed, and think that every business has that, whether they're a small business or a medium-sized business or a massive company. You sort of think, well, they must have a marketing manager who does all of that side of things, and they must have someone looking after sales who does all of that side of things. And then when you actually get out into the world of different sized businesses and micro businesses and solopreneurs, you actually realise that they are small businesses and single people that started their business because they have a skill or a talent, and then they are trying to be all things to their business. You start your own business, but you also have to be your own accountant, your own marketing manager, your own sales manager, your own administrator. And not everybody has that scope of skills, nor the desire to do all of those things. So, that's was the light bulb moment where I realised, well, actually, there is a role for, administrator, a sales and marketing manager in these small businesses, even if it's not got that title.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so in terms of just getting started and saying, okay, now I know what I'm going to offer, and now I need to get out there, what kind of challenges did you face, especially with having your son and wanting to build your business around him and your commitments there?
Well, I mean, I kind of knew what I wanted to do because as much as I wanted to be more at home with my son, I also knew that I am not built for being a stay-at-home mummy. It wouldn't have worked out for me. There's no right or wrong way of saying it. I just don't have the capacity to mummy all the time. So I definitely have to have different things to do. So I had in place, from obviously where I had gone back to work and gone back after maternity leave, I had in place 3 days of childcare a week, which were with family. So were exactly the scenarios where I wanted my son to be, with grandparents and that kind of thing. So because that was already there, I didn't want to break that arrangement. So from the start of my business, I knew that I had those 3 days where I could set up my business, which was perfect. And then that gave me 2 days at home with him. And so I just literally started about in probably the same manner as everybody else. I kind of built a website, which wasn't anything to write home about originally, and I put together a Facebook business page. And I just started to think about the things that I could do and the skills that I have and that might be of interest to other people, and just tried to put together the copy that would make that attractive to someone else. And, initially I didn't niche at all. So my website and my offering was a lot broader than it is now, because I would have taken on people's admin, and I did. I took on data entry, I took on random telephone calls. My main criteria when I set up was to work. To build a business. I was quite happy for it to be non-specific, as long as I could fill those kind of 21 hours or 20 hours that I'd allocated myself, and make enough money. That was kind of my criteria when I started.
Yeah. Wow, that's awesome. I love it, because then things evolve and things change over time, but it's just getting started. So for any listeners who are thinking, actually, I would quite like to start my own business, it's an encouragement to know that it doesn't have to be, you fill in this 25-page business plan and you have to do all of these things and get all of these what sometimes are just obstacles that we put in place sorted out. You can just get going. And so it's really encouraging to hear that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm a massive fan of just do it. Even people who are sort of thinking, well, I want to set something up maybe in my maternity leave because my life might change, or thinking about maybe I don't want to do what I'm doing full time anymore. You can start a side hustle even if you only have sort of 5 hours a week. Just get going. As I say, my website and my offering has evolved so dramatically from day one to where I am now. but I wouldn't be where I was now if I hadn't done that sort of day one starting point. If I'd have wanted to learn everything that I know now before I started, I'd still be there.
Yeah, absolutely. I know exactly how you feel, because I still practice as a lawyer. So I started my business while I was on maternity leave with my son, but I then went back lawyering 3 days a week, and then also running my coaching business, having coaching calls in the evenings, and doing all the things around like raising a family and having a part-time job. But if it's something that you really enjoy and you're passionate about, you can find the time to dedicate to it, and you can just give yourself the time to grow it. It doesn't have to go from 0 to 100 straight away. It's just taking consistent action and doing things on your business daily. It all grows and it all builds. So that's good for people to know as well.
Yeah, it really does. And in all honesty, you get to a point where you have to hold yourself back. My business could be very different and look very different if I wanted to give it 110%. And it's not that I don't give my work 110% when I'm doing it, but you see so much online and in membership groups that you might be in of people who are absolutely flying, and you get a bit of kind of comparisonitis where you sort of think, oh, I should be doing that, and as a VA now I should be building a business where I've got a team of VAs and I'm managing other people and I'm outsourcing. Actually, I'm like, whoa, hold on, you could do that if you didn't want to pick your son up from school, or if you didn't want to go out for a run, every couple of mornings, or if you didn't want to go to sports day or the drop of a hat. I don't, at this stage of my business, particularly want to manage people or feel responsible for feeding work to people, because that carries its own sort of weight of responsibility. So I do sort of really have to kind of pace the business and sort of hold it back a little bit, because it could grow into a monster. And I don't want to have created a business that takes over my life. I want to still maintain that real work-life balance, because, as you know, children grow and change so quickly, and his needs at 7 will be completely different to his needs at 10. When he doesn't even need me to walk him to school or want me to walk him to school, well, that will open more availability and different avenues, but you kind of just have to pace it to the life that you want to lead, and not to the lives that you see on Facebook or on Instagram of business owners and other entrepreneurs.
Yeah, I love that. I think that is so, so important. And I think it applies equally to careers as well. Like when you look around and you see what people are doing, and you might have gone back to work and you're working part-time, and then you see people getting promotions and you're not necessarily climbing the ladder in the way that you want. It's the same when like not growing your business in the way, but you have to look at everything in the whole. And it's really important, like you said, to identify what is important to me in this season, at this time of my life, what's important, and then you can make decisions accordingly. So I'm a big proponent of saying it is possible for you to balance work and family life, but balance is it's not something that you can find all the time. It's all about integration, and it's all about deciding, well, what is my priority right now, and then making decisions to suit those priorities. And so if it is that you want to be around for your kids, then you're not going to be able to go full throttle with your business or your career, but that doesn't mean you won't be able to do it later. So it's just understanding that in different seasons you might need to adjust and change things, and that's okay. Like you don't want to be comparing yourself to everybody else. Just running your own race and figuring out what works for you and your family.
Yeah, it really sticks with me that no one ever got to the grave and said, I wish I'd worked more.
Exactly.
You will look back and go, oh God, like did I actually see my kids grow up? Did I do those things that I wanted to do, with the children and with the family, and I know there is a really important balance in earning enough money and kind of feeling that we're doing enough work and we're putting bread on the table. But yeah, just don't let work become all consuming, because it is just one element of kind of leading a happy life.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, such good stuff. So I love to share inspirational quotes or sayings with people, because they often stick with me, and so I love to share that on the podcast. So do you have a saying that you like, or a mantra or an inspirational quote that you like to share?
Yeah, for me, I think experience is not what happens to you, it's what you do with what happens to you, because it's how you deal with all the challenges that are presented to you, and how you create the world around you, really, because everybody reacts differently. And one person would, I don't know, kind of be made redundant and their whole world will fall apart, and then they'll just be like, right, I'm going to go and work in a supermarket or whatever, and another person will be like, right, no, I'm going to prove the company wrong and I'm going to make £1 million, and or I've done what I've done. So everyone's experiences are different, but it really is how you react to it, and I think that really kind of channels what you do and how your life kind of goes forward. It's just looking at everything as an experience.
Oh, it's awesome. I love that. So where can people find out more about you? So can you share maybe your website and where people can check you out if they are maybe starting their business and looking for a VA, or if they just want to connect with you to learn more about your journey?
Yeah, sure. I am on maidstone-virtual-assistant.co.uk. It's the biggest website address in the world. But if you want to find me on Twitter, I'm on Maidstone VA. On Facebook, I'm Maidstone VA. I'm also on Instagram as Jo Francis 74. It's a less business-focused Instagram account, but my one top tip for people would be that actually people will find you, wherever you are. And I've posted a couple of really sort of vague business posts on Instagram when I've been doing some work, and actually I found one of my biggest paying clients who contacted me because I've hashtagged a certain software that I use. So,
oh wow, awesome! That's a good tip.
From all angles.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So I will put links to all that in the show notes, and it's been awesome interviewing you and learning more about your journey, Jo. So thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
I really enjoyed speaking to Jo. It was awesome to hear how motherhood was different for her at different phases in her life, and how she has been building her business now to work around her son, and how she's been intentional about building and growing it, or not growing it as fast as she possibly could. So that was really great insight. I would love to hear what your favourite parts of this episode were. So please head over to our private Facebook group, which is our little space on the internet where we are connecting with one another as working mums and supporting each other. So if you head over to lightboxcoaching.com/Facebook, then you can join the group. If you want to learn more about Jo and connect with her, then I will be sharing the links to her website and her social media handles in the show notes. So you can head over to lightboxcoaching.com/episode-40, and then you can grab those links. Now, being a working mum is not easy. We all know that. And it's always good to have good resources. So there's lots of information out there on the internet, on Pinterest, on Google, on Instagram, lots of places where you can find information and resources that are helpful. But sometimes it can be overwhelming, and sometimes it can feel like there's too much information. So I've decided to do something about that. And I have created a list for you of 14 resources that every working mother should know about. So I have listed out some really useful books, some tools, some apps, some courses, just general information that is going to be really useful for you on your working mum journey. So head over to lightboxcoaching.com/resources and grab yourself a copy. It's completely free. So all you need to do is let me know your email address and we will send one over to you. As always, if you're enjoying the show, please do head over to iTunes and leave a rating and review so that more women just like you can find the show and join the conversation. That's all from me this week. I hope you have an awesome week, and I'll be back with you again next time. In the meantime, look after you and look after your babies. This podcast features music from Bensound.